Homie S Dot coming back to you with another video. Welcome back to the channel, and today is a very special day. We have a spoiler for you, well, two spoilers actually, one character and one battle card for ATP 3. Now, if you guys remember my spoilers in the past, I've also spoiled Night Racer Gunner, Night Racer Gunner back from Wave 5 type Masters Attack, and then I also recently spoiled, well, that's for WTC, excuse me, shout out to WTC, then shout out to ATP and the guys over there for giving me the Huffer card to be able to preview to you guys as well. Now, Huffer was a great, or both of these cards were great additions to the game, being new 5-drops outside of Flame War, of course, being the premier 5-drop for the longest time. And then of course we got Brawn along the way as well before, we got Brawn and Night Racer at the same time. And then we also had Huffer with the new keyword Sturdy, which is really good for, you know, anti-burn damage, and he has some nice survivability. And what's very special about this character that I'm going to be previewing for you today is the fact that I actually play all three of these characters in one deck. So we have Night Racer, Huffer, and then the character I'm going to talk to you about in a second. And without further ado, we're actually just going to get into it and talk about it. I know I usually I do a lot of long-winded talking before get into it, and honestly I don't know a lot about his lore. I did not do my homework for the lore part of it, but I did do my homework in terms of being able to tell you all about this card and things you can do with this character. And today's character for reviewing is going to be Overlord, Sadistic Phase 6er. So this guy is really cool. He is a tank, plane, and ranged in both modes actually. And he starts out as 6 attack, 18 health, and 3 defense in alt mode. So that 3 defense stays true to most tanks, how they usually have 1 extra defense than they do in bot mode for the most part. You also, I guess you have Dark Mount, who's technically 4. He has 1 more in his alt than his bot. But of course, if you're defending against a ranged character, you get +2. But I digress. This card is very cool, and I can't wait to tell you all about it. So having 6 attack is reminiscent to, we look at this character overall, he has 14 stars. So his 14 stars is very reminiscent to, of course, Shockwave. We're going to compare it to him a lot. They both have 6 attack and 3 health, but this guy, Overlord, has 18 health. So he's power creeping Shockwave by 1 health, and this is just about natural power creep of the game. Or this is just because of, excuse me, the natural power creep of the game, rather. With cards like Belligerence and things like that, all of the, you know, black icons with all the Pierce can get super high numbers with Fusion Board, things like that. Eventually, as the game goes along, some characters within the same star range as previous characters are going to need a little bit of a health bump. And of course, him being a tank, he'll be able to tank, pun intended, attacks and, you know, everything else very well. Now, him being 14 stars, he's able to be comboed either with a 6-star character and a 5-star character to round out your 25 stars, or you can play with 2 5-star characters and a star card. And the reason why that's going to matter is because his first effect, your deck can have up to 3 star cards of differently named cards with exactly 1 star. So a lot of the cards that you're not used to playing or whatever, especially in one deck, you're able to play. Cards like Leap of Faith, cards like Universal Network Access, cards like Bolt of Lightning, the star card I'm actually going to be showing you guys today, and you know, a plethora of other cards. We got Vandalize, we have Energized Field, Mounted Missiles, the list goes on and on. We have new cards in ATP like Hands-Free Artillery. We also have Bullseye Aegis, we have Spotlights. You have a lot of different options. So what's really cool about this is being able to start with those 3, that does not count towards your star total, your 25 card star total. So you just get to cheat, if you will, these cards into your deck at the beginning of the game. And what his other effect is in all mode is when you flip to this mode, so a tank wouldn't be a tank without when you flip to this mode effect, right? Well, that's exactly what it does. So when you flip to this mode, you're able to reveal the top 5 cards of your deck and add all cards with exactly 1 star from your those revealed cards to your hand. So that's pretty cool. It's a treasure hunt effect right off the top. We think of cards like Captain Jetfire. We think of you know, treasure hunt in general. So 5 cards, being able to get off the top to hopefully get at least 1 star card. If you get more than that, it's just icing on the cake and it's all good, and able to play those powerful cards. I can tell you now that my cards of choice are, again, I play in Huffer, Night Racer, and Overlord. So this is like automatically, it's always going to be, there's no deck that's going to be double prime, because that was my very first competitive deck I was introduced to when I entered the game. So right behind that is going to be, you know, this deck with Overlord, Huffer, and Night Racer, because those are all 3 of the cards that I preview, which is really cool. So I'm playing that with those guys, and which means I have 1 star left over, 14, 5, 5, and then so you got 24 stars. I am playing just 1 more star card, and again, it'll be the star card I'll show you guys in a little bit later here. But you also have other options as well. You can actually play Flame War and Night Racer, and then you're able to play Villainous Spotlight. And what Villainous Spotlight allows you to do is obviously to play 2 more additional star cards to give you 5 total. So you'll have 1 more obviously than what you're normally able to play with. And you can play cards like Spotlight, because Spotlights is a orange-blue, but it still has the orange in it to fulfill Spotlight's effect. You also have Bullseye Aegis, you have Mounted Missiles, you have what else? You have Vandalize. You can also play Vandalize in your deck as well. And so those are the type of options you have. I don't know how much is going to matter. Obviously, your chances increase when you have 1 extra star card in your deck, but it's very cool. So right now I can tell you my build, my build, I guess I can tell you I'm including Leap of Faith, Universal Network Access, the Draw 3 card, and Bolt of Lightning. So all of these cards are just enhanced versions of the normal versions, like Leap of Faith is a double field communicator. Universal Network Access is just a slightly more powerful pep talk, able to draw 3 cards. And then of course you have Bolt of Lightning, which is Plasma Burst, power crept a bit by just 1. That 3 is actually very important though, because when we think about cards like Ominous has 3 health. When we think about Briscoe having that 3 health, those guys are out of range with cards like Canyon Crash and Sturdy Javelin, unless they already, of course, have 1 damage on them as well already to KO them outside of combat. So being able to Bolt the Lightning a Ominous out after a Sky Shadow attack is very huge. So you don't have to waste an attack into that little guy or into Briscoe or whoever else. Now, of course, Grax is still out of range, but at the same time, if like you're not even attacking Grax, if you have Sturdy Javelin, Bolt the Lightning, you can actually still get Grax out of combat too. That's 5 damage out of combat we're talking about doing, which is very powerful. And next up, we have his bot mode to talk about. So his bot mode, again, he is tank, plane, and range still. So when you think about cards that have plane or tank or their stats that they had, their trait that they had in alt mode, there's not many. I literally think there's only 1, and that's Windsweeper from the SRT from Wave 5 type Masters Attack. And that guy had, he was also plane in bot mode, which is very interesting. And I want to say WOTC talked about dipping their toe in the water with keeping some characters with a stat or trait rather from their alt mode into their bot mode. Now, reminiscent of, I guess, SRTs, SRT doesn't necessarily equate a card's power level, because there are some SRTs that are garbage, and then there are some SRTs, or there are some even commons that are better than other cards, like Sergeant Springer from Wave 4, for example, is still one of, I think, the top 10 best characters in the game because of what he does. So not necessarily always equating a character's rarity to their power level is something to do, but he is the SRT of the set, which is really cool, and he'll definitely stand out for that fact. Now, when you think about 2-pronged, or I guess I gave it away. When you think about tank, plane, and ranged, you can obviously play a card like 2-pronged attack. Now, you were also able to do this with Blitzwing and his stratagem from Blitzwing, the super rare from Wave 2, and the Wave 5 stratagem that allowed him to also be a plane as well as a tank. And you could play that card and be able to make your opponent discard 2 cards, and they have to choose a character to deal 2 to. You can do that same thing with Overlord here. So that's definitely probably a 3 of when you start your Overlord list that you're going to play. Very powerful card, 2-pronged attack, and also combo with cards like Rapid Ascent. You play 2-pronged attack, make them discard 2, make them deal a 2 to the guy. Then you play the Rapid Ascent, make them discard another card. You just made them discard 3 cards and deal 2 damage to a guy. Pretty insane turn. It's a pretty good turn. And yeah, overall, it's just a very good card to be playing. Again, him being plane and tank and ranged in both modes. That range tag is very important still, because you can play, it's still the best trait in the game out of the 3, melee and specialist. You can play arm hovercraft on him still. You could throw sturdy javelins, etc. Now, next up, we're going to talk about his stats. Now, he's also, of course, 18 health still, and he has 5 attack and 2 defense. So a lot of times, bots will be weaker. Like, let's say, I guess normally I could imagine maybe Overlord being a 5-3 and then being a 6-2 in bot mode, like losing, 1 defense and gaining an attack, like a lot of the other guys. Same with even Shockwave. Shockwave is a 6-3, and then he switches, he gains an attack and loses a defense in bot mode and becomes a 7-2. But we have the Phase 6er here having 5 attack and 2 defense. Now, the reason for that is the first part of his text. His first text reads that he gets +1 attack for every character in each player's KO area. So there are a couple of pros to that, and there's some cons, and that's matchup dependent is what I'm talking about there. So obviously towards the end of the game, we're looking to get this guy pretty big. You can imagine if we're playing a simple 3-on-3 scenario, if Overlord's facing against, a Shockwave or Galaxy Prime, Overlord should have 9 attack base without a weapon. 2 of their guys should be KO'd, 2 of my guys should be KO'd. It counts for both, of course, players' KO areas. So you'll get +1 attack for each of those. So he'll be a 9 base, and then plus obviously your weapon or whatever. So I think the reaction to that is when you look at characters like, again, Galaxy Prime, when he's fully loaded, he should, and when I say fully loaded, I mean at his highest attack he can get base, he should, let's say, best case scenario, have an Energon Axe on him and a Matrix of Leadership. That'll make him a base 12. So when you look at Shockwave will have 2 Gamma Launchers, that makes him 11. Give or take, sometimes a Field Communicator, that'll make him 12. So when you look at Overlord here, Overlord's going to have about 9 attack, and then he'll be at 9 plus a Scoundrel's Blaster, so it'll put him at 11, or Energon Axe, it'll put him at 12 as well. So that they're trying to stay in that realm when they created this card of having a character, be so when it comes down to the nitty-gritty in 2 characters. Now, where Overlord, for some cons of the situation, where Overlord becomes a little weaker is when you're playing against combiners. So we can talk about the combiners from ATP2, like Superion and Minosaur, the two that we have so far. So with Minosaur and Superion, they both start with a guy in the KO area. So Overlord will automatically be at 6 attack. But what the problem with that is when they finally combine, inevitably you lose that attack because they take that guy from the scrap pile, they combine into Superion or Minosaur, and then now you're still sitting at 5 attack. So one other thing I would definitely recommend if we're talking about the first 5 cards you put in your deck, it's probably 3 2-prong attacks. That card is just way too good not to play 3 of, especially maybe 2, but probably 3, because we've never really been able to do this before effectively, because this guy I think is definitely going to be a competitive threat in playing 3 2-prong attack. And you probably want to play 2 Scoundrel's Blaster minimum. It's a good card against Jazz, and it's a card just to make him a respectable 7 attack for starters. Now, going on to the next part of his effect, he also has Bold 1 and Focus 1. So what this allows you to do is to help combo with the last part of his effect we'll talk about here in a second. When you attack, or excuse me, when you flip battle cards for an attack and before defense flip, so literally similar to Optimus Prime Battlefield Legend, when you flip when you flip a card with exactly 1 star, you may play that card. So it's literally Optimus Prime Battlefield Legend effect, but only for star cards. So if you flip Leap of Faith, Vandalize, Universal Network Access, any star card with 1 star, you were able to play that card onto Overlord, which is really cool. And it's a little different than Galaxy Prime, because Galaxy Prime, you're able to play an upgrade if you flip an orange-blue after the battle. So it's not like he can get that Energon Axe and play it right away and have the extra 3 attack. You're able to do that here with Overlord, which is really cool. So if you flip the card I'm going to talk to you about here, here in a little bit, you can play that card. Obviously, you can play any of those. I think the most exciting one for me since I've been playing Overlord is Leap of Faith, because I get sad when I see it flip on, when I use Overlord's alt mode effect or when Huffer or Night Race attacks. But what's nice about his alt mode digression a little bit is when you're flipping those 5 cards, even if you don't hit anything, and of course you don't get any of those greens either you flip, so Hollow Matters, Scoundrel's Blaster, all those will go. That's 5 cards you just getting quicker into rotating or getting back through your deck again to reshuffle to have another chance at flipping cards for Overlord. That sounds like a horrible Lord Megatron potential matchup, because you're kind of helping Lord Megatron, but we'll see about that when we get there to that matchup. But anyway, yeah, so it's very exciting to be able to hit cards off the top of the deck. One of the most underwhelming ones probably is Universal Network Access. It depends on the state of the game. It doesn't really change the game state. You drawing cards after you're attacking does not really change anything. You flipping Bolt the Lightning to kill somebody out of battle or to even put 3 damage on the guy that you're attacking is very good. The Leap of Faith, again, like I said, is my favorite one, because you could potentially hit secret actions that you didn't, you weren't able to have or whatever. Normally, you can hit another upgrade to put on your character. You can hit a lot of things. Composite Armor, that's another card I forgot to talk about. Composite Armor is a great card that you can also put on Overlord in bot or alt mode, because he's a tank in both modes. So the Double Field Communicator is very, very interesting and kind of keep you both players on the edge of their seats in terms of what you're going to flip, because it can definitely matter. Of course, you're going to have those situations where you're going to flip Handheld Blaster, and it is what it is, but hey. So, yeah, overall, Overlord is a very solid character. Again, he gets stronger towards the end of the battle. Talking about one of the pros, I'm skipping around a little bit, my bad here. But, so obviously against, well, I guess I kind of talked about it and covered it a bit. Obviously, again, against 3-on-3 battles, Overlord's going to be a max of 9. Without a weapon. Against decks that have at least 1 type master, you just add that by 1, because normally they would have 2 characters, but now they have 2 plus the head. The head counts as a bot as well. Once that head dies, that'll be 5. So we're looking at a base 10 Overlord. So if he has an Energon Axe, it's base 13. With that Bold and Focus 1, you're able to Bold obviously helping you to try to get to one of those star cards, and then of course the Focus as well. You just look at the top card, and if you don't like the card you see, you get rid of that, and to hopefully help you get closer to hitting one of those star cards. Now, I think one of the best case scenarios is against like Sentinels. Sentinels is not a deck that's played in the competitive landscape right now, but I can say, Overlord will start with +3 attack, because you start with 3 guys in your KO area, so that's something to note. If Volcanicus was ever relevant, Volcanicus, the Grimlock helping or putting guys in the scrap pile in the KO area also helps as well. I actually just realized another one. Soundwave is a big one. That's like, there we go, third time's a charm for a relevant talk space. Soundwave is actually a very relevant one. And so first of all, Soundwave is insane. Like, Soundwave being an 11-star character, first of all, is one that you could potentially side deck with Overlord, by the way. And he also is a character that gets guys into the KO area every time he attacks. So every time Overlord does that, you're also making, or every time Soundwave does that, you're also making Overlord bigger, because they go into the KO area, which is actually very relevant. So I'm curious to see how that matchup will go. Of course, Soundwave, you know, is going to be a very formidable, respectable foe with being a max of 8 attack and 4 defense. But then Overlord gaining that +1, man, we know how important +1 is. Bash and Shield putting on a character that has 2 defense to 3 defense all of a sudden, even in an aggressive deck, is very good. You're looking at, you know, any character going from 3 defense to 4 defense is obviously very good. Just that 1 just makes so much of a difference. But yeah, that's going to be it for Overlord. Not much more to say about that. Again, 14-star character. You can play him with some of the other 6 drops that were revealed by Richard Wyatt. I don't know if the other card was revealed yet, but we have a lot of different options to be able to play with this guy, and I think he's definitely going to be in the competitive landscape, both in Titan 1 and in full constructed. And then next up, we have our second star card, or excuse me, our second second card to talk about here, and it is a star card in Aura Dominance. Now, Aura Dominance is a white upgrade utility, and it gives +2 health. So this is the first of its kind, I want to say, that gives health instead of a attack or defense bump, which is really cool. And it gives the character Bold and Tough 1. And then also, when you put this on a character that has 11 stars or more, which Overlord is, which you know, which Sky Shadow technically is. I was going to say Sky Shadow, but that's actually technically true. With, you know, Shockwave, Galaxy Prime, etc. All those characters. When you put that on an 11-star character or more, 11 or more star character, you make your opponent scrap 1 card from their hand. Then also they have to pick one of their upgrades to scrap. So in terms of smelt is, it's like a smelt, but it also combos with smelt. So if your opponent has a, you know, early turn pocket processor, one of the best cards you can play in the early game along with them to combat that pocket processor is smelt. If you have the Aura Dominance, you can play the Aura Dominance to scrap their Energon Axe, to scrap their whatever. Now granted, yes, they get to pick, but smelt and Aura Dominance is actually a combo, and those are also 2 cards you can play in the same turn. If they have 2 good upgrades out, let's say they have an Energon Axe and a pocket processor out, well, you can smelt one, they choose one to get rid of, then you just go right ahead and play the Aura Dominance, and then it also makes them scrap the other upgrade they have, and then also makes them scrap a card from their hand. So you got a little bit of hand control here like Shockwave. Of course, Overlord's not going to do it like Shockwave, but when you do have cards like 2 Prime Attack and Rapid Ascent, or 2 Prime Attack and Aura Dominance in hand, it makes for a really good turn, especially with a deck like this and, you know, what it's trained to do. So Overlord, Aura Dominance is a very good card. Again, you can also play it in Shockwave. Shockwave has a really big knack of playing Reclaim. Now, yes, you can also play Reclaim in Overlord and then flip Overlord to grab the Aura Dominance for sure, plus any other star card that you get, but you can definitely play Reclaim and then flip Shockwave to alt mode and grab the Aura Dominance, which is really good as well. And mind you, you get to scrap the card from your opponent's hand, play the card on Shockwave, scrap another card from your opponent's hand, and then also have the +2 health to make Shockwave 19. So this card is definitely well-rounded all around. Of course, it can be played in Soundwave. Soundwave usually likes to use all of his Soundwave usually likes to use all of his stars, usually to make 25, but in any event that you're able to play this card and you have an 11-star character, this is definitely a card to consider. And that's going to be it for this, you know, I was going to say deck profile. This is not a deck profile. Maybe I'll put out a deck profile for Overlord here in the future, but that's going to be it for these spoilers for ATP 3. I'm looking out for some more spoilers coming up very soon from, you know, all different kinds of guys in the community. Shout out to everybody that's done spoilers so far. And we got big things coming up again with Overlord. He's good in Titan 1. I think he's definitely going to be good in full constructed, especially against, like, you know, the big bad, still the deck to beat, Quake. Now, speaking of Quake, actually, Overlord gets even more insane there, because when Fangry with his head, Horrible with his head are KO'd, that's 4 of their own guys dead. And then when my 2 guys die as well, my Huffer and my Night Racer, hopefully Overlord doesn't die first, but if my Huffer and my Racer are gone, they also contribute to Overlord's effect. So we're talking about +6. We're at 11 base, and with the Scoundrel's Blaster minimum, we're at 13 still. If we get that Energon Axe, we're at 14. Pierce 2. So yeah, that allows you to potentially only have to one-shot the Quake, because normally how the Quake matchup goes, you exhaust all your resources, you finally get down to their last character, well, their second to last character with the Quake in their head, and then you're still looking at a guy that probably has 3 defense now because they flipped to all mode, he has 6 attack, and then they might have they usually, Quake players always prioritize putting Bash and Shield naturally on Quake, so we're looking at a 6-4 with 13 health, and you probably didn't put too much damage on it because you had to deal with their other guys. So imagine that. So we're talking about 17 health, which Overlord actually might not even be able to still KO. Now, I gotta say one of the most powerful cards you can use with Overlord is Belligerence. Belligerence will help you, especially in that early game, to be able to KO characters. You know, put a Scoundrels in Belligerence, that's a combo on him to make him at least 7, and then play the Belligerence, you know, hopefully off one of their characters, and you get that +1 there. So maybe, hopefully, in that Quake matchup, you have Belligerence, and you're able to play that and just try to override Quake and get rid of him in one turn. And maybe you did put damage on him in the early game. Maybe you did focus 30 javelins and armed hovercraft or whatever to get some damage on him. But yeah, those are just some of the, you know, that's just the tip of the iceberg for things that we could talk about Overlord. There might be some things I'm missing. I did cover like the villainous spotlight and things like that, but you have a lot of different options and a lot of different ways to build him, and we get to play some of the cards that we weren't really able to play before in first of all, playing all these star cards in the deck, and then especially cards like 2 Prime Attack and Composite Armor. Very, very good cards. But with that, that's going to be the end of this video, and I hope you guys enjoyed. If you liked, leave a comment. Tell me what you think about Overlord and Aura Dominus. Leave a like if you like the video. Leave a dislike if you dislike the video, and that's going to be about it. But I will catch you in my next video. You guys know what it is. It's showing me S. You guys have a great day and or night where you have to catch in this video. Quick flex for you. Boom. Peace.